Hey everybody, this is Robert, and this is the demo for my new project called Viewfinder. It is a digital photography simulator, and it's the first game that I am developing with Unreal Engine. It's as much a learning experience for me as it is a finished product, but I'm going to show you here the first alpha build of it, and this is an in-house alpha that I'm going to polish up a little bit before I give out to testers. But the game here, the game here is something I came up with back in 2000, around March or so, when we were having the big lockdowns and all that jazz. I wanted to go outside and do some photography and shit, but everything was closed. So what would be a great idea, I thought, is what if I had like a park or a city or something that I could go and explore and take photos in that I would be able to do virtually. And it was after that that I found out there's actually a thriving community of virtual photographers that do things in video games, like the really nice looking video games like Ghost of Tsushima and Red Dead and stuff. They've got some people out there doing some really nice photography in game, and I was thinking it would be cool to have a game that would be geared toward that kind of crowd, and then also geared toward the people that just want a relaxing experience. But then as I was developing it, the third option that I was thinking, this could be an educational project as well. And one of the things I'm going to do, which you may be seeing this because I've contacted you as such, is I'm going to contact some photography professors at local colleges and stuff and see if they can get this in the hands of their students to take a look at. So what we're going to do here is show you through the main menu. You have some photos and settings, quit, your basic stuff. Loading up the game. We'll start at the first one here. And the load screens are something I need to fix and get set up properly and everything. But as it stands, this is the basic game, and you move around in first-person mode. So I mean, I guess this is technically a first-person shooter. But you get to move around different locations. This area is a very large park that you can explore a lot of different locations in, and you can control a camera that has a full range of digital photography settings that you can adjust. And I'll get those in a minute. And you can adjust them up in the top row. That captures the mouse. You can adjust them on the top row by number control as well. So, for example, adjust the exposure value back up to where it's supposed to be. So, there we go. Alright. Now, the game itself is, mechanically very simple, which is why it's the first game that I developed, because there's not any puzzles, there's not any quests or anything. It's just you walking around a very nice scenic location calmly and taking photographs while you're there. And I think that's a kind of zen calmness that a lot of games don't have, and I think there's a very much a need for that in today's society, I think. But yeah, as I said, this is a full-featured virtual photography simulator. So your camera has all the basic functions of a regular digital camera. First off, you can adjust the aspect ratio, since my screen is a 16 by 9. That's where it's going to do full frame, but then you could also switch it to your ASPC or full frame DSLR aspect ratio, micro four thirds, or if you are a Instagrammer kind of person, you can put more towards a square profile. Whatever you want. If you want to do a portrait perfect framing, you can even do that. Do one ridiculous wide landscape if you really want. But yeah, then the exposure, you can, currently it's set on automatic exposure, which it adjusts the lighting based on the physical lighting in the game. Or you can adjust manually by switching aperture and ISO settings. This also factors into the focus when you have focus enabled. But you can, it works basically like an actual camera. You get a higher f number on your aperture, and it's a smaller aperture. You have a lower ISO or a higher ISO. Basically two sides of the exposure triangle. And the only thing that you really can't control on this is actual shutter length. Any kind of motion blur is more a factor of the game's engine than it is a factor of the exposure. But beyond that, you can also adjust you can adjust your color temperature, get your white balance figured out to right where you want it to be. If you're working with the automatic exposure, or if you want to just adjust it on the fly, just straight up exposure, EV compensation. Focus mode is currently autofocus. When you're in autofocus mode, it will automatically target the center of the frame and focus to that object. So if you're at a close object, it'll focus there, far object, it'll focus there. You can switch it to manual focus, which if you are really nitpicky about your detail, you can get right up in there and whoop. I skipped over the zoom. Yeah, obviously there's depth of field to your zoom effect, but where I was showing the focus was you can go like very granularly close. Closer even than the textures on this are meant to look at. But some of the other textures look better when it's in that kind of depth range. Let's just put it back on autofocus for a second. Screenshot size is a fun one that instead of having megapixels, whatever, it just does a multiplier of your screen size. So it'll take a screenshot of this. The black bars on here are more just for show than they are for cropping. It'll export it as a letterbox basically. But the screenshot size, you can do your at 1:1 or all the way up to like 7 times the actual size, and it'll come out as a pretty high res image that I wouldn't know what the megapixels on that is without factoring it up. But print quality, images that you can take and do whatever you need to with. The light menu on-off option is what you see on the, I'm pointing like you can see it, is what you see on the top and bottom. You can turn that off if you want to just browse around. Save position, if you exit and come back in, it'll save where you are, I think. So those are the basic functions, and extended beyond that, this is the main feature for me is the direct output. It'll save a folder, or save to a folder on your computer. Have it default to VFPix on C drive, and it'll export it as IMG and then number.png as a screensaver, or a screenshot. And when you do that, just for example here, let's take a picture. Press F to take a photo, and switch over to VFPix, and it'll pop right out here. This is high-res PNG file that you can post anywhere you want. Put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram, open it in Photoshop and tweak it even further. Just full control. And that's one of the things that I noticed missing in some of the photo modes in games. Is it as a photographer myself, it's kind of finicky details that I like to mess with. You really can't get in a lot of the sample photo modes in games. So I wanted to get something as detailed as I can, and found something that fit the bill actually in this photo arch mode from Umka Apps, I think is how you pronounce it. It's basically the entire core of my game. It is a designed to be a photo mode for architectural visualization, but in my mind that works out very well for 100% of what the game that I want to make is here. So using that framework, I've tweaked it, I've adjusted it, worked on some of the controls, added some features, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Is you go around and take pictures. That's the game. And as a stressed out person, this is a game that appeals to me more as a player than as the designer, because I just want to get in here and look at the cool stuff. These are all basically sample scenes of assets that are available in the Unreal Store, and I'm using this more as a proof of concept thing than I am specifically going to include these levels. But these are good, expansive areas to showcase the application. One of the things here, yeah, you can look at the controls anytime by pulling them up in the menu. All the light menu controls are controlled by numbers. Move and move with the mouse is your basic controls from any game, WASD. Q will switch you into free cam mode or fly mode, which lets you clip through walls and go up as high as you want. F to take pictures. Some items are interactable, and some levels I have doors that open, so press E to interact with those. And N will show and hide your rule of thirds grid, so if you want to set it up with your classical framing, it's very easy to do so. But here, let me show you that fly mode. That was one of the things I wanted to show you. Turn on the light menu again. Free cam is on, so you can just fly up as high as you want, do whatever you want. The fly mode I made go a lot faster than the default fly mode because some of these areas are pretty large. The default flight mode is basically the same speed as the walk mode, so I had to speed that up. But if you wanted to just walk around, it's nice, gradual kind of pace. But because of the size, I figured you could fly around would be a better way to get around. So, continuing on the tour of this menu, you can turn on bloom effects with the lighting if you have video card that supports it. You can have it. Yeah, as you can see, the sun doesn't have any kind of glow around it there, but you turn the bloom on and it'll work better. You can adjust your intensity and everything on that even. And very, very fiddly little details that are fun to mess with. And this here is another selling point for me, was the LUT filters, and they have some default ones built into the software, like black and white, and you can adjust them based on what intensity you want them to be. Basically, it'll pop the contrast. You could do sepia toning and stuff, but there was an additional pack that came with this, or that was sold separately, that I also got, which lets you open up the filter menu, and there is a much more extensive options available, and I can include my own, which I do plan to do. Don't have them in here currently, but basically there's two slots for the filters. You can put them on and adjust the intensity per slot, which can create some interesting effects. I think it just does number 2 first, and then 1. Yeah, there's a sample image that shows the preview. But yeah, putting a couple different filters on gets you some interesting effects. But Yeah. But let's turn those off for a second. And over here you can adjust the size of these thumbnails too, so you can see them a little bit better before you pick them out. But anyway, yeah, turn your filter on, adjust however bright you want, everything. It is as I said, it's a full-featured camera with full full-featured camera with full functionality of filters and such. So let's just go ahead and turn those off so we don't have them on. Okay, and if you're using the focus modes, I didn't show you the third focus mode. There's the autofocus, there's a manual focus, well, fourth. There's no focus, which will just turn the depth of field off entirely. And click target AF and click target autofocus. That is just what it sounds like. You press V and you can point to where you want the focus to be. If you want to be up close or up or far away, you can still move your character around, but your camera won't move around while you're focusing. V to save it. But if you are using that, you can also put a trace on to show you where the focus is going to be. And sometimes it works, but it's like a little blinky light. It works. It's not 100%. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I don't usually use it. But it works in the demo one, and I might mess around with it later to change it. And you can even change the number of diaphragm blades on your camera, so when it does the lighting effects in the camera, it will blur it to a more specific lighting profile that you prefer. So, yeah, those are pretty much all the main controls, but we can go around and look at some of the other maps. This is the first map, as I said, was the City Park map. And all these maps are stuff that I got on the Unreal Engine store, generally for free, when they were having the free for the month kind of stuff. So these are meant to be examples of what is capable with this project, more so than the final project. And the final project, I plan to build the levels and stuff a little bit more from scratch to fit the usages that I need for them. But yeah, this is the park. It's got all dynamic lighting and all dynamic shadows. Let's leave the park here, and I'll show you some of the other levels. Now this is scalable a little bit. Right now I've got it on pretty high PC settings, but it's scalable to go down a little bit. This is a smaller level, so it's going to load a little bit faster, but this is another level that was like free for the month one time. I don't have anything outside the level, so it's not going to be very realistic. So this is like a diner in Purgatory or something right now. But it's a good example because they got some nice props in here. Show you the depth of field. You can show you how well the zoom works. There's some issues. One of the issues that I will point out, the default textures for transparent objects do not blur with depth of field. They render after the depth of field. So like in this, the windows, I'm pointing again like you can see, the windows and the glass on the jukebox there, those are kind of flickery looking at a distance. And the reason for that is it's a memory issue. It works a lot faster to do it after, and I'll show you why. That's something I learned about in one of these levels. But yeah, in the city, it's the same thing. The glass, everything, I had to switch it to render after the text, after the depth of field. For the same reason, because it was just way too laggy otherwise. I mean, this isn't a high frame rate already. This is not meant to be a high frame rate jump around. It's not Call of Duty shoot 'em up. It's just walking around and taking pictures. It's stock photography simulator is what this is. This is something you could put on the cover of a construction company brochure. But yeah, in the city we've got a large area here, and I've gone in and probably wasted a lot more time than I needed to doing new labels, because as a graphic designer, that's my fun thing I like to do. So making up fake names for bars, making up parody names for brands of ATMs and brands of coffee places, and another brand. This was in the original file called like Best Burger or something. I made it a healthcare themed place called Cafe Coronary, where everybody dresses up like nurses, because they probably are. Yeah, these people even have like liability waivers before you can eat your stuff, and that's the fun kind of little details that I like to throw in, and that's the fun things that I like to make. And I think people would enjoy going around in a large explorable environment like this and just seeing all the fun little details. And it's kind of like, for somebody else it's a photography game, but for me it's like, a piece of artwork that I like somebody to take a look at. So anyway, yeah, all these labels and stuff that I've put in here are all custom made stuff that I've made. All the logos and things are all fun stuff that I plan to use in other games too, so I could reuse some of these assets. But just make up some scenes and put people in here. And the people in this city, they're all standing still for a reason, and that's because I used an architectural visualization stock scanned people. They are not rigged for animation. These are made for, like, take a picture of your rendering and send it to a client kind of thing. But if you're just going around and doing photography, that's fine. I do plan in later releases to have animated people walking around the city doing their whole life cycle kind of thing, so you can do your fun exploration and urban photography. So yeah, in addition you have a bank here, and there's a subway station, and flying through things. Let me turn the light up a little bit. So there's some posters and advertisements for different things. And it's all just a fun place to explore and take pictures. And if you don't like urban photography, well then, you don't have to stay in the city. Beyond that, we have this nice little farm meadow, which it's a fun, it's kind of smaller than the other ones, but it's nice, wholesome pasture you can go around in. And I've hidden animals in here that I got from a pack, so you can go in and do some simulated nature photography. Yeah, you've got this whole meadow. You want to take some wildlife photography. You don't have to zoom in from a million miles away. You can, but you can get right up on their ass and they won't run away. Isn't that something every photographer has dreamed of, is wildlife that doesn't run away when you try to photograph it? So, yeah, I've got that in there. There's a bear somewhere around here. I think he's over there. Yeah, there's a bear up there, and he's just chilling, moving his head around. Press F to take some pictures and get yourself a whole gallery of nature photography in game. And one of the features that I wanted to include, but was actually already buggy to begin with, there's a built-in photo gallery mode which doesn't work if you're exporting it as images, because it renders it as a screenshot versus a texture. And if it renders as a texture, it can't export it for some reason. I don't know exactly why it works, but it doesn't. So instead of an in-game gallery, it just saves it to your hard drive, which I think is a little easier anyway, because the kind of people that this would appeal to are the kind of people who are just like, yeah, just give me a image file on the hard drive, tell me where it is, I will deal with it later. So, yep, fun, serene meadow you can go to. The old brick house here. This one is something I gotta tweak a little bit before I send it out for demos, because I don't have any working doors in this. It just is kind of solid. So if I had this in walk mode, I wouldn't really even be able to get in. But yeah, you got this nice looking old house. It's a very like grandma's house kind of feel. Get your nice atmospheric photos here. You can have that kind of retro nostalgic look. That's what you want to say. And yeah, so this is actually was September of this year, was a free asset. So this is was available up until a couple days ago for free on the asset store. But yeah, you got this, you got some other nice areas, some old record players. If nothing else, it's like you got yourself a oh shoot, why is my camera so off of that? That's something that needs fixed. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know why it did that. Anyway, I guess that's a thing to add to the bug list. But yeah, anyway, old lady house filled with old lady things. And beyond your, standard everyday kind of locations that you can actually visit in real life, one of the benefits to doing photography on computer is that you can go places you could never have gone in real life. Spaceships, for one, is a really good example. This one is a very Star Trek Next Gen inspired set that I found, along with some aliens, some classic green-headed aliens. And this is an example environment of something else that could be much larger, and would be in like a finalized game. I'd like to see red shirts walking through the hallways, and like Scotty fixing a panel or something. Right now it's pretty empty, but I do have your office here for your captain. And fun little tchotchkes that disappear when you get too close. But yeah, as it stands, whoa, that was creepy. As it stands, right now it's not very well optimized, so it's a little janky. At times it can be a little janky because the lighting and stuff's all built in. But the the one that I was talking about earlier that was real bad was this medieval dungeon. And this one I did change some transparency and put the transparency to render, before the depth of field, but it's doing it with particles, and you can see how laggy this is. Just, I don't even know what the frames is. It's single digit frame rate. So this is definitely going to have to be tweaked. But it's another one of the examples of the kind of environments you wouldn't be able to visit in real life, so you can take pictures of them and show them off to your friends online. So, yeah, let's get out of here before the computer crashes. As I said, this is a very early alpha build. This is buggy as all hell. And this one's a little bit more elaborate of a demo because the people that made the demo put a day-night cycle in, and I didn't even bother to update that on some of the other stuff. So you can see the sun's moving, and as you go around the town, it's going to get darker, and it'll go to full nighttime as you go along. But yeah, you got a full town here with a sheriff's office, and hotel, and general store, general goods, old wild western kind of town. And I think this would be great if I get some saloon NPCs in here, some bank robber looking type desperados and the like. But yeah, it's got the whole town. It's got, if you leave town a little bit, which way? You leave town this way. There is a mine shaft down here even. And you can go explore the mines. So yeah, basically intending to just give a little bit of variety here in the demo, but my thought was to have various themed packs, and you could have one that would be just one really big city that you can go to different times of day, different times of night, different weather, and have different NPCs and stuff in it. Maybe have one that is specifically medieval themed, one that's specifically space and sci-fi. Let me pause this for a second. Sorry about that. Parenting. Anyway, yeah, but the whole idea of this was just to show like an example, and have different theme packs, and one of them that I want to do, which I haven't gotten actually done yet here, is going to require me to know a little bit more on setting up things and moving things around, because what I would love to do for this is make it into an educational software as well. And one of them, I'd like to have like a full studio where you can pick and pull different props and move them around and set them up and do still photography, and then move lights and stuff around and see what the different lighting effects would be and change the lighting colors and stuff. And basically, like, you have this scene with people here, it would be like movable lights where you'd actually have dynamic shadows, and you could be like, oh well, this light here will adjust to there, and yeah, but as this stands, I don't have the stuff wired to any kind of interactivity with the lights. But yeah, these are some sample animated characters that were available, and this is what I'd like to have. Would be something like this, where you have different characters that you can swap in on this like backdrop, that you can change the colors of the backdrop, and you can change the characters, and maybe even have like a full character creator or something where you can swap in characters, and then pose them and light them and do everything you would in an actual studio, and that would be part of the educational package, which I would hope to be able to make free for educational uses in colleges and art schools and high schools and stuff like that. And I think that would just be a great way to get people into photography that wouldn't otherwise do it. People that might be video gamers but not, you know, artists, might be willing to drop a couple bucks on a video game on Steam, whereas they wouldn't want to drop $1,000 on a DSLR. But yeah, just virtual photography in a virtual studio. Maybe even have at some point a virtual instruction thing where you might have I could record a professor or something doing a lesson about photography that you could watch and actually learn about things like exposure and aperture and lighting triangle and different lighting setups like your 3-point lighting and what's a spotlight and what's a fill light, and have that whole thing, you know, readily available for anybody that wants to play around with it. So yeah, that's the game. That is Viewfinder. As I said right now, the sound is on here. As I said right now, it is in the early private alpha or in-house alpha build. I've got a lot of bugs still that I'm kind of whacking out, and I said whacking out, I'm sorry. I'm immature, and that's why it took me this long to get into video game design. But yeah, as this is what I got. This is the game, and I'd like to see where it can go. I'd like to get it into a position where I can get it onto platforms like Steam. Maybe find some people that do photography, do the virtual photography through, you know, Reddit and through Instagram and things like that, and send them a link, give them some free software, let them to play around with it. But yeah, that's what we're going for. And if you want to keep up with the production of this game, you can follow Gem Studios on Facebook and or on our website, or you can follow me personally on Patreon. I'm going to put some behind the scenes stuff from the development up there for everyone to check out. And otherwise, just keep tuned, and we'll let y'all know when this is ready to go public and you can go download it. So as I said, I'm going to have an alpha test, and you may be watching this video because you saw the preview that I shared and want to be involved in that. And that is, I will put the link to that down in the description for this video and below on my website, so you know what you need to do. Get a hold of me, and I'll get your name on the list for when this is ready to go. So if you're still sitting here after listening to me ramble for this long, thank you. I do appreciate your interest in the project, and I hope to show you something even better soon. So thanks for checking it out. Bye.